Hey everyone, it's another day, another recipe, and today we are experimenting with a custard-filled angel food cake sent to me by my sister from a 1938 cookbook from the JR Watkins company. Come join me and see if it is worth making. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Courtney Morris and I cook history's forgotten recipes. Today we are back on the dessert train with a caramel custard pudding cake. Now if you saw last week's video, we made some amazing caramel ice cream and I'm kind of riding that caramel high. My sister sent me a recipe from the JR Watkins company in 1939 that produced this recipe that sounds amazing. And considering my birthday is in a couple days, I'm making myself a birthday cake. So let's get to the mixer and start in. 5 eggs, beat egg yolks lightly, gradually add sugar, and fold in half stiffly beaten egg whites. Okay, so you need to separate my eggs. I figured I'd beat my egg whites first so I can get that out of the way because I'll need to wash this bowl to be able to mix in everything else. Okay, those are at a nice stiff peak. I'm going to transfer those to another bowl. Alright, I've got these stiffly beaten, and because I need my mixing bowl, I'm going to transfer these carefully and work quickly because you don't want these to fall. Okay, rinse this real quick. Okay, so now we're going to beat the egg yolks, gradually add in the sugar. Together. Now starts the tedious part of angel food cake. Angel food is so light and airy and almost like a marshmallow. It's so good, hence the name angel food. But this is where we put this away for now and we fold in with a spatula. Otherwise you lose all the air and it will be very dense and not so great. So I need to fold in half. So I made sure that I was trying to be as careful as I could to not break up any of those air bubbles, then added in my flour and my salt. After that's mixed in, then we fold the rest of the egg whites in. I'm always so scared that I'm going to just lose all the integrity every time I make an angel food cake. I've never had a problem with it turning out, so I must, be doing something right, but it's always just tedious because you do all this work for something that tastes so good and you don't want it to screw up. Now here's where it gets interesting because we moved in October and I had an angel food cake pan and now I don't. I don't know where it is. So we're going to DIY one. It's pretty easy to do. It just takes a little effort. So let me go get my ingredients for that. Okay, so before I get into this cake pan thing, I was just looking at the recipe again, and it calls for a rind and a juice of half a lemon, but the ingredient, or that's what the ingredients say, but the instructions don't say anything about a lemon. I'm gonna put one in there. And half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. It doesn't say that either. But I'm going to put it in because it's in the ingredients list. And they partitioned out the ingredient or the instructions per part of the cake. So that's why we experiment and see what it does. So now back to the DIY pan. So if you do not have an angel food cake pan, you can use a springform pan where the sides come off, like this. So this adjusts. This is used for things like cheesecakes, so you don't have to worry about turning things over and having it flop. I was feeling super crummy the day I filmed this, and I didn't realize how slow I was speaking and how slow I was going until I started editing. So I'm going to speed this up and just voice it over. Basically, line the bottom of your springform pan with parchment paper and then cover a Red Bull-shaped can with parchment paper too with a tiny little bit of tape and put it in the middle of the can. Make sure you cut a starburst for the cake pan paper so it fits over the can, and do not grease any part of this pan or the angel food cake will not stick. Because this is smaller, I'm going to keep an eye on this a little bit and make sure that 50 minutes isn't too much. Okay, so I am finding a little fault with this JR Watkins cookbook because it keeps leaving ingredients out of the instructions. So we're gonna work on this filling here, and it calls for sugar, water, gelatin, cold milk, regular milk, caramel syrup, egg yolks, sugar, salt, and whipped cream. It says nothing in the recipe about what you do with caramel syrup. So I am going to make my best judgment and just add it in. So it says to heat the sugar in a pan over the fire until light brown. Lucky for me, I have a fire. I'm going to toast that up to light brown. This is where sugar gets a little tedious and can smoke and burn very quickly. So it's good to watch it. And then we need to slowly add the water, half a cup of hot water, which I have right here, and then let boil to smooth syrup. So we'll toast this and then smooth it into a syrup. Now we're scalding 1 cup of milk so we can dissolve our gelatin, which has formed.
So while I was waiting for the gelatin and milk mixture to set up on the stove, I went ahead and mixed together my custard base, which was the eggs and sugar and salt and stuff. And I am interested to see how this goes because I've never made a custard using gelatin before. I've always ever done cornstarch or just regular sugar with a long cook process. So we'll see how this works out.
Okay, so we mixed our eggs, our sugar, our salt, and the gelatin and milk, and now we're going to cook it into a double boiler until it gets thick enough to coat with a spoon. Here's my egg mixture that's thickening up. It's thickening nicely. So the recipe said to add the gelatin to some cold milk to dissolve it, and then scald the milk, add the gelatin mixture into that. Then it said to put the egg and the sugar and the salt in a double boiler and boil, and then add your gelatin after it gets thick. Well, I didn't see the comma or read the comma wrong and put the gelatin in with my egg in the double boiler, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing as long as I keep stirring it. It's getting nice and thick and creamy and not bad. It still doesn't tell me when to add the caramel syrup or the sugar syrup I just made. So I guess we'll find out how that works. I suppose now's as good a time as any. I've made custards before, but not with gelatin. I also wasn't about to go make homemade caramel sauce for this. So this is done. This thickened up nicely. It now coats the back of the spoon like the recipe said. It's hot, but it tastes really good. And now I need to let it cool. I'm going to add some whipped cream and vanilla to this as soon as it cools off. So I'm going to just let this sit over here, and I'm going to make the frosting while we wait. Our custard is in the fridge and it's going to cool off. I can't do much with it yet, so we're going to make the buttercream. And so it calls for 1 cup of butter, 2.5 cups of powdered sugar. This part of the recipe's instructions just says to mix everything together. Couldn't ask for any more easier instructions. I need 2 tablespoons of caramel. Okay, then it says 4 tablespoons of cocoa dissolved in hot, strong coffee. So, it doesn't say how much coffee, but I'm assuming, considering when you make a buttercream, you only use 2 to 3 tablespoons of milk. I probably don't need that much, so we'll just make a small amount. I'm using instant coffee because we don't drink coffee, but I keep the instant on hand for chocolate and cake baking. Is it just me, or does strong coffee smell like burnt raisins? Always has to me for some reason. But man, when you put that chocolate in, oh, it smells good. It smells so good. And a teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, now we are at the part where this custard gets to be mixed with our whipped cream. I've never mixed a custard filling with whipped cream before, but I'm sure it'll be good. It definitely makes it more of a foam rather than a pudding. It tastes good. So here's my filling. My frosting turned out. It's a nice buttercream. It tastes like the Palmer's chocolates that you get at Easter, those really cheap ones that you can get from the dollar store, but way better. And I don't know why. Okay, So I've got those. Now it is go time to see how this cake turned out. Okay, so turn it over. The only thing I don't like about using this method is when you flip it over, sometimes your can slide around, and so now I've got a little bigger hole than I wanted to. Now it just looks like a giant donut, but that's okay. It's nice and cool. So I am going to peel this away from the side of the pan. And I think I lost some air when I was waiting for the oven to heat up because it didn't rise as much as I would have liked it to, but I also had a different pan set up, so I don't know if that made a difference. Okay, so then we will take off the outside of that. It is pretty cute though, and give her a flip, peel that off. That looks lovely. Okay, so definitely, I think I did lose a lot of air when I was waiting for it to warm up because it should be about this big and it did not get there. It is fluffy, it's bouncy, and it smells good, and it's definitely an angel food cake, but bummer. Okay, so the next instructions are to cut it in half and scoop it out to put the filling in. I'm not going to be able to use all this filling because it didn't rise. I am going to cut the top off to the best of my ability here. This is not tedious at all. Oh, I made it a little thin on that side. Whoops. Oh well. Okay. That barely fits on there. Whoops.
So I carved out a well in the middle like the recipe said, and honestly, I can't imagine having a full-size angel food cake filled with this stuff. This seemed like the perfect amount, so I don't know.
Now we put the lid back on, and then it just says to frost. Buttercream got a little warm. Oh well. It's done. It's flat. It's a lot smaller than it should be. Obviously, I have enough pudding filling for a very tall angel food cake, and I'd be curious to see how that would work and what it would taste like if I actually had my angel food cake pan. I want to try this again. Well, let me taste it first to see if I actually want to try this again. So let's see here. Okay. If you go in thinking this is an angel food cake, you're going to be sorely disappointed. But if you go in thinking eclair vibes, you'd be spot on. It's got a lovely, almost Bavarian cream taste with a very overpowering chocolate frosting. I've never frosted an angel food cake before. It is a very overpoweringly sweet chocolate. Honestly, the texture is really good. And all three combined are very nice. It's not bad. I think if I did do this again, I would drizzle the chocolate instead of actually frosting it because it's almost too much. I'll leave the recipe in the description below like I usually do, so let me know if you try this out and let me know how it goes if you actually have to use all the pudding and if it gets to be too much. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, hit the little bell notification, and leave me a comment. Let me know if you try this or what you think of the recipe, and if you have any old recipes for me to try, please leave me a comment with that. I'll leave the recipe in the description, and I will be back next Monday with a brand new recipe for you. Bye!